So we'll move on to Superintendent's recommendations and reports. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Martin to cover the items listed under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Birding and board members, I have several items for your consideration this evening under Personnel Professional. Item 1, resignation, letter A. Item 2, extracurricular resignation for the 2021 school year, item A. Number 3, extracurricular correction for the current school year, item A. Number 4 is employment. Letter A is extracurricular for the 21-22 school year. Item B is extracurriculars for the 2021 school year. Item C, substitute teachers for the 2021 school year. And item D, volunteer for the 2021 school year. That concludes the items I have for you this evening for your consideration under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. At this time, I'll open the floor to accept, motion to accept the recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Heard Mrs. Shorter and Mr. Begley. Any questions or comments from the board? I just have one comment. I hear a lot of buzz around the varsity girls head soccer coach. Mr. Stephen Thomas is well respected, and I've heard from colleagues around the Butler County that he's going to be an incredible addition to our staff, so looking forward to it.
That's very much so, a former OHSAA Coach of the Year, and I also have heard very positive feedback, and we're excited to have him on board in our program.
That's great. Okay, Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Birdie and members of the board, I do have several items for your consideration under personnel support. Number 1, unpaid leave of absence, letters A through F. Number 2, employment, letters A through D. And number 3, promotions, letter A. That concludes the items that I have for your consideration under personnel support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept those recommendations.
So moved. Second.
I heard Mr. Begley, and then I heard Mr. Clark. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Begley?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum?
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes, motion passes.